All right, we are live. Welcome back to Barstool Units. I am Coach Doug's with me, as always, Frank the Tank Fleming. Frank, it's been a rough week for you. How you feeling?
Uh, yeah, terrible. Ever since fucking Tua had his concussion, it's like been one bad thing after another. It's like a nonstop terrible tidal wave. The Mets get swept by the Braves, and then as I predicted, the Padres were just a bad matchup for the Mets. Now everyone's getting ready to leave. It looks like nobody's coming back next year. Uh, and add to it, I have a horrendous case of food poisoning.
Yeah, it's been a bad week. The Mets
My
losing. I
phone
mean,
doesn't stop ringing.
yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's talk. I guess we can talk about that real quick. So the phone doesn't stop ringing. Um, have you thought about turning the ringer off?
Then I might miss a call from someone who I know who's trying to contact me.
And how,
But
how
like
often how often do you get phone calls like that?
maybe once or twice a day.
Okay. So you're still a phone call guy. You don't text.
Well, no, it's the texts that are getting bad too. Random people texting me. It doesn't stop.
Hmm.
But the text it just goes, "Zzz, zzz," and then the phone call just goes. "Zzz, zzz, zzz." It's getting annoying.
Hmm. Yeah. And so it's just that it's people trying to sell you insurance and stuff, scammers.
Scammers, and then people just, Frank, I got called. I got something important. Frank, this is me. Hey, Frank, I'm a big fan. Call and let me talk to you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. I mean, does any part of you say, "Hey, it's nice that this many people know me and want to talk to me"?
Yeah, but I make myself available plenty enough on Twitter.
You do. You do make yourself plenty available on Twitter and Instagram. And so basically that's where people should contact you if they want to contact you.
Yeah,
Message
and if
you
if I feel that it's important enough, I'll respond.
or even if it's not important, you usually respond.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I,
So
I'm I'm fairly responsive to people.
you are. I mean
Uh,
you spend a lot of your time on Twitter.
and I think people have abused my trying to get the right have
What
abused my niceness.
yeah. That's the world we're in. You got is everything okay, Frank?
I'm just trying to get the right shot.
All right, good. Yeah. So yeah, you're too nice. That's that's always a problem, Frank. You're too nice, and people take advantage of you.
Yep.
It's a sick world with sick people.
Hmm.
But it's unfortunate. I think most of the calls are probably in reference to your tweets. Most of the calls are probably in reference to the baseball team you root for, or I think you root for, um, the New York Mets.
It's a nightmare being a Mets fan. And now everyone's gonna leave. You see, Kyle and KFC and Clem, those guys, they always doubted me, and they're still doubting me when I say that no one's gonna return, and the Mets are gonna settle on Greg Kimbrell replacing Edwin Diaz instead of Narco next year. We're gonna be having him come out to let it go.
Which is a Crimble song.
Yes.
Okay. And so you do like when the pitchers come out to a song.
Yeah, most of them are good.
Yeah. And now no matter when during the game, if the pitcher's coming out, the song should be played.
Yes.
So even
The
when
only
you're
thing is
down
now,
4
now, now,
nothing.
now, now that's his song. That's his song.
Mhm.
The problem was Mr. and Mrs. Met on the dugout with the trumpets.
Yeah.
That is where it went off the rails.
Can we? I know you don't like him. I know you're not a fan of him. Can we agree that Blooper would not have done that?
All I know is this: the team behind Mr. Met needs a lot of improvement.
Well, I think the issue. Let's talk about that. Blooper is Blooper. He knows who he is. The Braves know who he is, and they let him run wild. I think Mr. Met is just a game day mascot.
You know what the problem is? I think the wife is holding him back.
Really?
Yeah.
You think maybe the wife should move down south?
Maybe the wife should be the calm one, and Mr. Met should do some of the outrageous stuff. I mean, I'm obviously talking about Mrs. Met.
I assumed, Frank, that when you replied to the missus of Mr. Met, you were referring to his wife.
Yes. I was sitting at the game with Michelangelo. Michelangelo said, "Ooh, she's pretty shapely."
She's a baseball.
But the problem is Mr. Met is the people who run Mr. Met run him like a mascot in 1984.
He's a game day mascot. You go out to the ballpark and he's there. He's there to cheer on. That's it.
Their social media presence is bad, and just jumping in and it's like the band at a college football game. I mean,
I think most people enjoy the band at a college football game.
Most people enjoy the mascots too. But what I'm talking about is when say for example Texas is losing by 30 and they score a touchdown in the fourth quarter, they're still going to play the or a few weeks ago when Wisconsin was getting blown out after 3 quarters, and they still did jump around to the 200 fans that remained in the stands.
Yeah.
It's like stuff that they still do that just doesn't work when the team's losing. And it was just poorly timed.
Read the stadium.
Yeah.
Read the stadium. It's not the time.
Mr. and Mrs. Met should not have been involved in that. You played an arco for him coming in, but you don't have the trumpets on the damn dugout.
Yeah. As if need for nothing.
And in the end, Jerry Seinfeld was right.
Yeah.
When the Mets went to the World Series in 2000, their rally cry became that stupid song, "Who Let the Dogs Out?"
Baja Man.
Yeah. And they actually played the Yankees in the World Series that year, World Subway Series. The first game they lost in extra innings. They shouldn't have lost that game. That game haunts me. Benitez just couldn't put anyone away. So, anyway, Mets win Game 3. So before Game 4, they bring out the Baja Men to sing "Who Let the Dogs Out" live. And the Yankees look at each other like what the fuck is this team doing? This is like a minor league operation. First pitch, the top of the first inning, Derek Jeter puts one into the bullpen. Yankees don't look back, win the series in 5 games. And Jerry Seinfeld said, bringing Timmy Trumpet out was like bringing out the ghost of the Baja Men. And it was it was like just a ridiculous thing. It was like just before the game, they had him singing. And everyone's just standing around while they're singing "Who Let the Dogs Out" live. And the same thing with Timmy Trumpet.
Yeah. They think it's a concert, but you're there for a baseball game.
It's stuff like that it was overhyped. When you bring out Timmy Trumpet at the victory parade.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly. Once it's done.
And next year he's probably going to be gone. They're going to have Clem and KFC are going to have the shirts of Frozen. Let it go.
Yeah. So you won't even have to worry about the Trumpets next season.
Because, and you know how this started, don't you? Craig Kimbrell had the let it go with Craig Kimbrell.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the Dodgers winning 111 games, he's one of the worst closers in baseball.
Yeah.
And he blew his save, and the next night he played Let It Go, and they booed him, and he basically like smiled at the crowd like this. And by the way, he's not even on the Dodgers playoff roster right now.
But he'll be on the Mets roster next season.
100%. This is the stuff the Mets always do. It's still the same garbage organization. You know, they might have money now, but where are they spending it? Why aren't they signing anybody? You know,
don't they have the highest payroll in Major League Baseball?
Yeah, but a lot of that's bad money.
Oh, come on now, Frank. They have they're paying more. They're paying the most in all of MLB. They have the highest payroll.
But they have 12 key free agents.
Well, I mean that doesn't you're talking about spending money. They're spending more money than any other team in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Well, what, Frank? Well, what? They're spending the most money in all of Major League Baseball.
Well, you think Craig Kimbrell will be expensive? He's not going to be a cheap player.
Well, I mean, you just said he's garbage. You just said he's trash.
He is. He is now.
So why would he?
Because of his past. This guy was at one time one of the top closers in baseball.
Yeah. Okay. So was Nolan Ryan. You think a team's going to pay Nolan Ryan $40 million to pitch for him right now?
Yeah, that's typically what the Mets do. They lose somebody and then they settle for just best.
I don't think so. But I don't know the Mets as well as you do, so I'll have to take your word for it on that. The Mets are out of the playoffs now. When do you think they'll hang the banner?
Before it starts, it will be up when the season starts next year. That's how it always is.
Okay, gotcha. So it's not going to be like an opening day ceremony thing?
God hope not, but it's never been. It's the only time that they actually have a ceremonial banner raising is if you go to the World Series.
Gotcha. Okay, because I was actually really looking forward to that. I would love that opening day where they unveil the banner that says, "Hey, last year we made it to the wild card."
That's almost that is like the participation trophy of the fucking playoffs.
Yeah, but it is the playoffs.
Yeah, fuck it. It's not the playoffs. It's on the outskirts of the playoffs.
It is the playoffs.
It's the outskirts of the playoffs.
How can you say that?
Because if you don't make it past the wild card, you might as well not have been in the playoffs.
Well, if you don't make it past the wild card, but the wild card is in the playoffs.
I still don't believe it's the playoffs.
Why not?
Because it's a joke.
So they shouldn't have. So you don't agree with having wild cards?
I believe in having wild cards, but if you don't make it to the division series, you're not really in the playoffs.
Well, then what's the point of the wild card if it's not part of the playoffs?
It's like a play-in game.
A play-in for what?
The playoffs.
So it's part of the playoffs.
It's a joke. You're a disgrace if you lose in the wild card.
Only if you lose in the wild card.
Yes. The Mets season was an utter failure. It really was 2007 all over again. Utter failure.
So we'll wrap it up soon because I don't want you to get overworked about it. We're leaning into the off season now. If you have an off season. So because the Mets lost to the Padres in the wild card series, the whole season is a failure.
Absolutely.
Losing in the wild card completely removes anything that happened during the season.
Yes.
100 wins. Like that.
Yep.
Wow. So you didn't go. You had a chance to go to the wild card game. Was on Wednesday?
Saturday game.
Saturday, game two. Game two, right?
The one they won.
The one they won. So you didn't go to that one. If you had gone and they lost game two, I don't know. I mean, would you still be happy? So I guess here's the thing. So because the Mets lost, Frank, it's coming to me now, Frank. The wild card series is not in the playoffs. So because the wild card series is not the playoffs, you haven't missed a playoff game yet. It wasn't a chance to see a playoff game, Frank. I was really upset that they made you live stream with KFC and Clem, and you missed your chance to see a playoff game. But the wild card isn't a playoff, so you didn't miss a playoff game. Isn't that good news?
Well, the Mets won't even come close next year. You watch; they're going to lose 90.
But this year, I was upset that they made you miss a playoff game, but they were in the wild card, which isn't playoffs. Frank, you didn't miss a playoff game.
Well,
isn't that great news?
Well, Chilbo Swaggins had a good time with my $170 tickets.
Watching a game that meant nothing because it wasn't a playoff game, Frank.
It's a play-in game, not a play-off game.
Yes, it's not a playoff game. You didn't miss a playoff game. Now, when they sold you the ticket, how did they sell it? Did they say, hey, this comes with your playoff tickets?
Yes.
So MLB calls it the post-series or postseason, sorry. MLB calls it the postseason. The Mets sell it as a playoff game, but it's not a playoff game. See, Frank, I feel like this is a win-win. You know what? If we're going to go with your logic that it's not a playoff game, you did not miss a playoff game.
No, it's a joke. And the Mets are always a joke. And you watch next year, they're going to lose 90 games, and they're going to be back to being losers. And Clem and KFC will embrace them no matter what, because you know what? They accept losing.
And okay, so we'll go into this real quick. So there was an issue of your last bet, and I don't think we've had closure on that. So you made a bet with Clem as the trade deadline approached that I believe the bet was, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong here, was the bet that the Mets would not trade any players?
I said the Mets would do nothing.
So you said the Mets would do nothing, which if again, and correct me if I'm wrong here, so any activity would be something, right?
Well, they actually end up doing worse than nothing.
How is that possible?
Because they got Darin fucking Ruf, who, by the way, 5-year locked contract. They can't release him. He's going to be on the roster for 5 years. And he's going to have to play every day. Next year, he has a poison pill. Every game he doesn't play, he gets $1 million. So he has to play every day in the lineup, and he has to bench. Work. Every day. Darin Ruf. By the way, for the record, I hate everyone named Ruf.
You don't mean that.
I hate everyone named Ruf.
So the Mets did something, but that's something, the results of that something you believe were worse than nothing.
There's a quotient in baseball that basically calculates how much a player has worked on the roster. Mm-hmm. I've never attributed to it, but I'm going to do it this one time. Darin Ruf cost the Mets 4 wins in the games he was with the Mets. He had the worst WAR in baseball over the last 2 months. He was a minus 11. 11.
And what is that? So as far as you're saying if Ruf was not on the team, the Mets would have won 4 more games?
Yes.
How do you determine that?
Because
how do you prove a negative?
Because he absolutely sucked beyond all possibility. He was the worst player in baseball the last 2 months of the season. The absolute fucking worst.
But how do you prove that the Mets would have won the game if if he had not played, meaning like they left his position open and he didn't bat?
If they would have kept JD Davis instead of him, they probably won the division.
What algorithm can prove that though? What are you looking at here? What is this like a dark web website or something?
That JD Davis, the Darin Ruf batting average was under 100 with the Mets.
Yeah, but how can you prove that the Mets would have won 4 games had he not been playing?
Well, they would have at least won one, which would have been the division.
But the emphasis wasn't on the number of games. The emphasis was on
the series they were swept with the Cubs. He hit into 3 double plays in those 2 games.
So it would have been better just to take an out. Is that how they determine it?
Probably.
So you don't know how they determine it. You're just reading off what they say.
Yep. And because Darin Ruf was so bad,
I don't know what to do with that.
I refuse to acknowledge that last bet.
So you basically said your last bet doesn't count.
Yeah. Because Darin Ruf was so bad.
Like the results of how the bet ended.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember when Jerry tweeted today? Remember last football season? I believe it was the Titans. It might have been somebody else, but the player's foot should have been in bounds in the end zone. It might have been AJ Brown, but the player landed in the end zone and they said it was out and it was no touchdown. And Jerry DM'd Dave saying, "Hey, this bet lost, but if you can like somehow change that,
I am not wearing a Braves hat. I am not wearing a Braves hat.
I'm saying what you're doing now is you're saying I made a bet. I don't like the outcome of that bet. Therefore, the bet doesn't count."
Clem could claim whatever he wants. This was a bullshit situation. Darin Ruf sucks. If he forces me on it, then he's a Darin Ruf fan.
Not arguing any of that. But do you understand where some would say you simply don't like the trades that were placed? And some would say this, some might say this, not me, I'm on your side, but some would say you should have worded the bet properly, or you should have said if they don't place any trades that make them better, something else rather, because by saying they're not going to do anything, then therefore doing anything really.
They did in the end. They did less than nothing. They would have been better off. They would have been better off doing nothing.
Well, so there was still activity though. They still did something. You're saying what they did caused more harm later on to the team, and it didn't benefit the team. But they still did something.
And that is why I refuse to acknowledge that bet.
Well, no, you're not understanding. So the bet was to do something. They did something. You don't like the outcome of their something, but they still did something.
And I didn't like the outcome from the beginning. I think that's great.
But they still did something though.
I was good up until October 1st, but you know what? That was it. I had seen enough.
All right. So up until October 1st, you had agreed that they did do something. What changed October 1st that basically said, you know what? I don't feel that what I agreed to was fair.
The second loss in Atlanta, and Darin Ruf just continuing to stop.
And so it was basically that's what did it to where you said, you know what? I made this bet. I agreed to it. However, I don't like what I'm seeing. Forget the bet.
Yep. And
fair enough. Some would say that's not, and some would say that's not what the bet was, but I'm on your side.
I'm not wearing a fucking Braves hat.
Was that the out? Was that what you keep mentioning that? What does that have to do with anything?
That was what I have to do.
Oh, that was the punishment if you didn't stick to your bet.
Right.
Gotcha. So you made a bet that you later regretted, and you chose to go against, and you're not going to do the punishment either?
Nope.
Wow. I don't know where to go from there. I mean, that's just
This
you know
team.
what? That's a personal decision. Your body, your choice, as we say here on Barstool Units. So if you don't want to wear a Braves hat, I can't force you to. But that's just a question of integrity that'll hang over your head forever. But it's your body, your choice. I can't say anything else on that matter.
I mean, and Clem knows. Clem knows that this offseason is going to be a disaster.
He knows
He
it?
won't acknowledge. Yeah, he won't know it. We're gonna see Edwin Diaz gone, DeGrom gone, and DeGrom's departure is going to be equivalent in destruction of the Mets as Tom Seaver was. The Mets will not have less than 90 losses in any of the next 5 years.
Yeah, I saw your last tweet about the 10-year projection. Well, I believe there were 4 0-win seasons, 3 of them together.
Yeah, it's going to be a total disaster.
So this is people on the internet were questioning this. I believe 2026 was a 0-win season. In 2027, you win like 23 games, I think, 26 games, something like that. But then the following 3 years, you win 0 games. And the people want to know, in your 10-year projection, what happens that year where the Mets go from 0 wins to like 23 wins?
A couple of teams feel sorry for them and forfeit.
God, wow. So you have so it's bad enough that the Mets are so bad. You have MLB teams forfeiting games, not being competitive. I mean, Frank, that's what by the time they're relegated, it might be for the best if that is the structure of the MLB. It might be for the best that the MLB kicks them out.
The loss in the Padres series, the loss to the Braves, have set the Mets back. It's fully back to what it was under Wilpon. There's no hope ever. You watch. The Mets are.
I don't think I will. I don't think I will watch.
Every player leaves, and Clement KFC will embrace the new guy. Oh, Craig Kimbrough, let it. Do you have shirts? Let it go. And then the back will say, "I didn't want to win anyway."
Now, do you feel because you keep saying, and this is something you do. You say you watch. It's going to happen. You make a lot of bold predictions, and you mentioned earlier. Excuse me. You mentioned earlier that Clem knows. Like you're stating that Clem has knowledge or believes to a certain extent that you are right.
Yeah.
How can we prove that?
Because he knows. He knows. KFC knows. Kyle knows. Phil knows that the Mets are a disaster and always will be. They're cursed, and they deep down they don't want to win.
Okay, and so if that's the case, and this may be a follow-up for you, but if that's the case, if they know the Mets are cursed and they're never going to win, why do they still cheer for them?
Because I think they kind of like the losing.
Okay, and just a follow-up on that, why do you still cheer for them?
I don't know. It just like maybe one year something good will happen, but all my fucking teams are cursed. God hates my teams. I'm fully convinced of that. Look at the Dolphins. I mean, there's Skylar Thompson's going to be starting at quarterback this week. Tua's out. Teddy Bridgewater's out. I
Well, Teddy
mean,
Bridgewater was no good, according to you. He was no good anyway.
yeah, he sucks anyway. Yeah, they
Oh, yeah,
probably wouldn't win with Teddy
let's
Bridgewater
not
anyway.
worry about that.
But God only knows when Tua is coming back, and a team that had a chance to make the playoffs
If
this
he
year,
comes back,
that's gone now.
if Tua comes back,
He's probably not going to come back. That concussion doctor keeps honking outside the Dolphins practice facility.
is that a reference towards something?
The movie Concussion.
Yeah, I did not watch that.
Yeah, it's garbage. But the doctor that movie's based on
Mm-hmm.
is wants the flew down to Miami and wants to talk to and tell him to retire.
I mean, for Tua's health, would that be the worst suggestion?
With the Dolphins draft pick situation's fucked up and more investigations going under ownership, and you know what gets me
Okay. Now something gets you.
is they've lost draft picks for tampering with Tom Brady, who a player they had no shot of ever signing.
Mm-hmm.
Now they might get more draft picks taken from them for interfering with Jim Harbaugh getting hired by the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Was basically the owner of the Dolphins, who cares more about Michigan football than the Dolphins, basically gave him more money, booster money, to stay at Michigan. Then,
That's the rumor.
yep. Then the two concussion investigation that could cost him more shit.
Why would that cost him anything?
Because
Wasn't it a third party doctor that said he could continue playing?
yeah, but they'll always go after the Dolphins because that's what they always do. You got the wheel of punishments.
Why would the Dolphins be punished for following what the NFL said?
I don't know. Nothing Roger Goodell does is logical. So
I
to
mean,
lose more draft picks.
what are we
Stephen
doing here?
Ross, yes, Stephen Ross gets to remain as coach. Meanwhile, there's also the investigation if you try to get Brian Flores to throw games. So, and yet he gets to stay on as owner.
Mm-hmm.
And all they do is just take draft picks away. That's actually punishing the fans and not the owner. I mean, this owner is out of control.
I mean, is he really the worst owner in the league?
There could be others, but
There could be others.
I mean, Daniel Snyder's starting to blackmail people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, that is the rumor. Who knows how many people the Miami Dolphins owners has already blackmailed.
Ten text messages from one person in 2 minutes.
Oh yeah, what do they want?
Yeah. Shit, nothing.
They want shit.
Yeah, well, basically, it's DeGrom just signed with the Braves.
Read the text. What does the text say?
DeGrom just signed with the Braves. Is Frank Diaz next? Frank. Why aren't you answering? Frank.
Do you think that's a Mets fan?
I think it's someone who just keeps harassing me. And the name I blocked them, but every number I block, 5 more come. This phone is just poor at everything. And then if I want to get an Apple, I go to AT&T, and all these apps I have to re-download each one individually. If I get another Droid, there's a program that takes all the apps and brings them to there. And when I go to AT&T New Jersey, they just say, "You got the phone now. You're on your own."
I mean, it's your phone.
Yeah, but there's no customer service.
Yeah.
It will take me 5. It will take me 5. I would have to work 24/7 for 5 weeks to get my phone back up to where I want it to be if I switch to Apple.
I don't think that's true. I'd probably say 2 hours in an afternoon.
It will take 2. It will be just that would be if I had customer service help, which customer service in New Jersey does not exist. It's
Yeah,
like the tooth fairy.
I can't argue with that. But
Actually, I'll say this: in New Jersey,
Mhm.
the tooth fairy might exist. There's a higher probability of getting the tooth fairy to come out than you do finding good customer service.
Gotcha. And by tooth fairy, you mean like a creep that'll sneak into your house at night?
Maybe.
Yeah, because that does sound like New Jersey. So yeah, I don't know, Frank. I don't know. It seems like every week it's the new week, same problem though with all of your teams. You mentioned that
God hates
God
teams.
hates all of your teams. Have we considered the possibility? And again, I'm not making any factual statements here. I'm just throwing out a possibility. Have we considered that you hate all the team, or you like all the teams that God hates? Is it something? And again, I don't want to blame you for anything. I don't want to cast blame. Is it possible that it's you, that you've made the decision to like these teams that God hates?
It doesn't end.
I mean, Frank, we're recording a podcast right now, and I mean, if you don't, I mean, it's a simple. It's all you have to do is turn off the ringer. I mean, if you are you gonna, Frank, if someone calls you right now, are you gonna pick up the phone?
No.
So then turn your phone off while we're recording a podcast.
It's just so it's so fucking frustrating. It really is.
All you have to turn the phone off while we're recording the podcast, and then once we're done recording, you can just turn it back on, because you weren't going to call anyone anyway, and you weren't going to take any calls. So that wouldn't cause any issues whatsoever if you just did that.
And I don't think John Rich's blog helped.
I didn't read his blog, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, I've been getting nonstop text and phone calls all day since he put it up.
So in the blog, he asked people to call you and text you?
No, he says stop calling and texting me.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So we shouldn't tell people to not call or text you.
Well, these people are assholes.
Yeah, I kind of have to defend John here. I mean, if John tells people not to do something and then they do the opposite of that, I don't feel like that's John's fault.
Well, he meant well.
Okay, there we go. We'll say that. All right. Well, let's go ahead. You seem pretty frustrated about your teams, about not being able to work your phone properly. So let's just go ahead and get in the picks.
By the way, Devils are starting up this week.
Yeah, the Devils are starting this week. I've heard about that.
And speaking of people named Ruff, who I hate, if Darin Ruf is not fired by Thanksgiving, the Devils will never be good again.
Ever.
I mean, not Darin Ruf, Lindy Ruff. You see, this is why I hate everyone.
If the Devils don't fire Lindy Ruff by Thanksgiving,
yeah.
Are you putting a curse on them? Are you mandating that if the Devils don't fire this guy, you're going to curse the Devils?
I'm telling you, if they don't,
that sounds like a threat, Frank.
Yes, it will show you how much the Devils care.
All right, okay. Listen, Frank. I'm not putting any words in your mouth. I'm just letting you know that sounds like a threat. It sounds like you're threatening the Devils organization that if they don't fire their coach, you're going to do something bad to them to where they'll never be good again. That's what it sounds like to me.
Last season, Andrew Brunette was an assistant coach for the Panthers when Joe Quenneville had to resign because of the allegations in Chicago. He took over, took the Panthers to the best record in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
He was not retained as coach. They decided to go with a bigger name head coach, and Brunette is now an assistant coach on the Devils.
Okay.
He should be the head coach. They got the guy. Now make him the guy.
And if they don't, you're going to make sure they never win again.
I'll be pretty pissed.
Sounds like you're threatening the devil. It sounds like you're threatening the Devils, Frank.
I am tired of having Devil seasons.
Not saying you are.
I'm tired of having Devil seasons that are over before Christmas. I'm not asking them to do anything special this year. I'm not asking them. I don't see the playoffs as even a realistic possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Unless, of course, they fire Lindy Ruff. Then maybe, who knows? All I want is to be going to a game in March, looking at the standings and saying, if they could win 2/3 of their final 15 games, they could maybe slip in the playoffs. I want the Devils to be where at the end of the season, I feel that they're close, that the playoffs are within reach. That's all I ask. Is that too much to fucking ask?
And if not, there will be consequences.
I mean, I don't have to renew my season tickets next year.
Okay, but what are you going to do? You know what? I don't even want to be an accomplice. I don't want to know what you are going to personally do to the Devils to make sure they never win again. I want to end the conversation there. Devils organization, you've heard Frank loud and clear. If Lindsey Ruff is not gone by when, Frank? Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving. Then that will show that they don't give a fuck.
If he's not gone by Thanksgiving, there will be consequences. And the Devils will not win ever again because Frank's going to make sure of that somehow. I feel like I'm an accomplice now. So I'm just just rewatch the tape. He said it all. I don't want to be a part of this. Let's just go.
So you don't want to go Saturday night?
No, absolutely not. I don't want to be any part of this. I don't want to play this game anymore. I'm out. Let's go ahead and get to our picks. Frank,
you want to go to a few Devil games this year?
Let's see, Frank. What you have like a 2-game lead on me in the unit belt?
Something like that.
I don't think it's a full 2 games. It might be like a game and a half because I have an extra push that you do not have. Pushes are really starting to make me mad. I don't. It's the same way that like if it's an NFL game ends in a tie. Like I hate seeing that third number up there for the whole season. So that's kind of frustrating to me. Well, let's go ahead and get into the picks. Frank, would you like to start with your NFL picks?
College picks, actually.
Okay, let's start with college picks.
All right. Well, I'm obviously doing the Notre Dame game.
Obviously.
Obligated to. They are 17-point favorites to beat Stanford. I don't see how Notre Dame is 17 points better than Stanford. I know Stanford's not played well this year, but you know what? Notre Dame doesn't really beat people by 17 points.
No.
I'm taking Stanford and the 17.
Wow.
That's 17 points.
I mean, listen. Forgive me. I am making comments on your picks. These are your picks. I thought you were a Notre Dame fan. I was mistaken.
Well, I think they could win by 13 points. I think they could win by 14 points.
But they're not good enough.
I just think 17 points is just way too many points.
Fair enough. Please continue.
And I think they will win. All right, Bryce Young, he's a little banged up. There's reports that he may not play this week. So you know what? Good old Rocky Top, Tennessee, and I won't be surprised to see the Vols win. Tennessee, with a win over Alabama, will surely show everyone that they are back. I'm taking the Tennessee +7 over Alabama. The next one I'm going with is a battle in the Pac-12. This is probably going to decide a lot in terms of the Pac-12 South. I'm going to take Utah minus 3.5 over USC.
Okay.
I'm going to now go to the Big 12. Two top teams in the Big 12 right now are Oklahoma State and TCU. TCU is a good team. You know what? I kind of like what I see from Oklahoma State. I'm taking and they're dogs. They're actually dogs in this game. I'm taking Oklahoma State +4 over TCU.
Wow. Who did TCU score like 28 on in the first quarter the other day or last week?
That was Oklahoma a couple weeks ago. Oklahoma sucks. And I'm going to take the over 50.5 in the Florida LSU game.
All right. Good deal. Well, we have a little bit of overlap as far as games go, and we actually have one pick that matches. I have a full Doug's card. Any team that I coached at, they're on the card this week. So we're going to start it off with, I have Tennessee also at +7. I'm very confident about that. Going down to Florida State, Clemson travels to Florida State. Florida State had some issues last week against NC State. They didn't score any points in the second half. I think we can fix that. So I'm going to take Florida State +3.5 because I like my team. And so I'm going to take them to cover. Next, we have Kent State at Toledo. Toledo -7.5. They're favorites. They should win this easily. I am also taking the LSU Florida game. I'm not looking at the over, though. I'm looking at LSU +2.5. Listen, Florida stinks. Obviously, LSU is not great, but Florida just stinks. Gainesville, the whole city smells. Literally, if you drive through Gainesville, it's got a smell to it. So I'm picking LSU +2.5. And then USC at Utah. I'm also taking that bet, but I'm going over 65. I think it might be a little difficult to hit that mark, but they're either going to fall short of it or they're going to go way past it. So I'm going to take USC over 65. I'm happy with that.
All right, on to the NFL now.
Yep.
The Dolphins are toast.
They're garbage, Frank. They stink.
There's too many injuries right now. I got to take the Vikings -3.5.
You have to.
Too many injuries.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised it's only 3.5.
All right. All right. Joe Burrow comes back down to Louisiana, and it's not a happy homecoming. I'm taking Saints +2.
Wow. All right.
All right. And probably the best game of the week. Should be a primetime game, but no, we have to watch. We're going to show you the Denver Broncos. Broncos every fucking week. But no, the Bills and Chiefs are on at 4:00 on Sunday instead of primetime, and I'm taking the Bills -2.5. I think this is the week the Bills show that they are the best team in the NFL.
All right.
Eagles are the last remaining of the unbeaten teams playing on Sunday night against the Cowboys. Love the Cowboys defense. Hate the Cowboys. But the Eagles are 6-point favorites. You know, the Cowboys always seem to beat the Eagles when the game's on Sunday night. I think the Cowboys are going to win outright. Get the champagne ready for the 72 Dolphins as the Cowboys +6.
Good deal.
And going to Monday night, Chargers, Broncos. Whenever the Broncos are involved, slam the under 45.5. Denver Broncos football. More effective than NyQuil at getting you sleep. In fact, if Jeffrey Dahmer was doing his thing today, he wouldn't give them sleeping pills. He put on the Denver Broncos. And that will put his victims to sleep.
That's harsh, Frank. That's harsh. Well, we have so I have my picks here. It looks like we have a no, actually no, we don't. I was also thinking about taking Buffalo. I think Buffalo could easily. I mean, I saw them. We watched the Raiders Chiefs game. I'm surprised the Raiders didn't win, but I could see them playing close to Buffalo. So I'm gonna leave that one alone. I'm gonna take Cincinnati going down to New Orleans. Was it Cincinnati -2?
-2, yes.
Okay, so I'm taking Cincinnati -2. Arizona at Seattle. I'm taking Arizona -2.5. Jacksonville Jaguars at Indianapolis Colts. Again, I like the teams that I root for. That's, some people might say that's my downfall, that I actively root for and hope for the success of my teams. So I'm taking Jacksonville Jaguars +2 against the Colts. Next, we have 49ers at the Falcons. I'm taking Atlanta +5.5.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's a good one, Frank. It's a good one. You can't take it on your picks, but you might want to bet that one. And then for my over-under pick, this was tough. I didn't see any games this week that I was very confident in that they would hit the over. I didn't see any games that I was confident they would hit the over. So for the first time in a long time, I've taken an under. We're going to go New York Jets at Green Bay Packers under 45.
I like that one.
Yeah, I really like that one. Again, though, I might just do an undercard. I might, and obviously that might be a pun, but I might just take all the unders in every game because I don't think I saw one that I really liked.
I've always wondered how about having the unders club and giving out unders club underwear.
So you can promote the unders club.
Yep.
How would people know if you're in the unders club?
Well, people have the hat, the flags, the pants at half mast sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so I might do that. I might do that this weekend. Just go all unders and see how that plays out. Just get all my unders out for the season, and then I can just do overs for the rest of the season. But I didn't see any that I liked that were over that I liked. But yeah, all right. So those are the picks. Frank, you are. I don't know. We'll see. You say it's food poisoning. It might just be a broken heart.
Well, all I know is I've been spending a lot of time on the throne right now.
Fair enough. All right. So Frank is recovering. The Mets are literally killing him. He is falling apart. But hey, that's what you do for the teams you love. You risk your body. So
I probably wouldn't have eaten those pork chops on Tuesday if the Mets were in the division series.
The pork chops.
Yeah.
What pork chops?
There were pork chops that I had sitting around in the fridge for a couple of days, and that's what I think gave me the food poisoning.
Frank, you are, when it comes to your choices of food and your, I don't even know, the food safety, I think is what they call it, just general how to store food in a safe way.
Well, that's what freezers are for. Freezers are supposed to keep food frozen.
We've done this too many times before. Freezing something does not mean that it will last forever or that it's good to eat forever. But anyway, we'll leave it on that. Frank, listen, we mentioned it once. You think God hates all your teams. I'm just throwing it out there that maybe you like all the teams God hates. We'll find out one day, hopefully later rather than sooner. Frank, would you like to leave us out with anything special?
I don't know. I just hope that I hope that I feel better soon and to get back on my feet and get over this illness quicker.
Fair enough. All right. So click like and subscribe, follow Frank on Twitter and only on Twitter and Facebook and TikTok, but don't Don't text. Or am I doing what John did now? Should I leave this out?
I don't know, but all I just know is my phone just continues to blow up, and it's getting very annoying.
See you next time on Barstool Units.